Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. This is Amanda, and we are going to be continuing Vampire the Masquerade Shadows of New York. I have a feeling that this is going to be the last episode, and part of me is really nervous that this is going to really mirror back to that first episode, in that Kadir is going to be the Brian of the situation, you know, that mentor that failed. But hopefully, let's be proven wrong. I really hope I'm proven wrong. For me, it always starts with an image. An image which might be vaguely eerie or interesting, but usually not an image that would provoke particularly strong feelings by itself. Usually it hides a mystery. That much is correct. But that mystery doesn't exist without a text, or more specifically, a context. Context is everything. One way or another, you need to process what you're looking at. Maybe that context will be something you've heard or overheard. Maybe, although it's quite rare and pretty special, it will be your very own creative, captivating, complete interpretation. A ghost of an idea. Is this a half-forgotten memory of something unspeakably beautiful I will never, ever see again? Just a scene from a movie, a fragment of a music video, an animation? Or maybe this really is the last thing Callahan ever saw in his unlife. Warm sunbeams caressing his skin and turning it to ash, a giant ball of fire engulfing his body in flame from 93 million miles away. Was he terrified? Was he grateful? There's no will, no suicide note, no nothing. Instead, we can only count on what the local historians will write, presumably letting their biases shape the narrative one way or another. What am I looking at here? A horrible, laughable hall of mirrors? A creep whom I never ever want to see again? A vampire much more despicable than myself? Or maybe someone who loved taking care of me and deserved to be cared for in return. Funny thing, whenever I was high as a kite, mentally lost in dimensions parallel to ours, she was my anchor. Our shared history, my feelings for her, were an anchor. Matthew McConaughey returning to his estranged daughter from the other side of the cosmos, from beyond the event horizon, guided by nothing but love. Then whenever I got back to planet Earth for a week or two, I was haunted by a memory of that affection. I was the best possible version of myself toward her. That haunting always refused to transfigure into something real, but gradually took its place were angry, disappointed thoughts, and among them one thought that I was always trying to suppress. I need someone who'd know how to raise me up spiritually. But all I have is a sycophant who's working her ass off to lift me up without understanding what I need. It's hurting us both. Having these words pop up in my head hurt me, because they had a ring of truth to them. But also because I knew there must be another narrative, a better narrative. I was just too stupid to find it. Story of my life, story of my unlife. I still have no idea what I think about this city. I had my the best city in the world phase. I had just a playground for wealthy fucktards phase. Now, I'm in search of a better description. One day, probably, I will stumble upon, like a piece of writing or a prestigious TV show scene that will contain just that, and suddenly I will look at this place with new eyes. Or maybe I won't. It's like the frustrations I had back at Lodestar. All those words constantly trailing behind reality, trapping you in useless mindsets instead of bringing enlightenment. Fuck all those flashy writers whose main concern is fucking furthering their own brand. Douchebags who present you with limited, pathetic, depressing realities when they are kings. Fuck them all to hell. We need words that will paint a bright future before our eyes. But what if that can't be done without reinterpreting the past first? What if we haven't even defined the ills and threats correctly? Once again, my thoughts return to that same visual that has been tormenting me for almost every waking moment of this past week. A senseless demise devoid of any context, a crime scene stripped of evidence, an image created by an unknown artist designed to leave you dumbfounded. The investigation is over. All the possible avenues explored, all the non-testimonies are in, no concrete evidence found. The play is almost complete, the actors ready to leave the stage. It is what it is. I failed as a detective, maybe through no fault of my own, but again, it is what it is. This case, this scene, this picture never needed an investigator. From what I understand, all the people in charge ever wanted was a talented writer. What if? A ghost of an idea. When I wake up, Dakota is still not here. I don't know how to feel about that, so I just don't. Kadir hasn't left any messages by the door. Still that mad, huh? He will probably appeal to the court to take me off the case. And if half of the garbage Kaiser was spouting is correct, he shouldn't have much trouble convincing everyone. I look at the mirror and stare at my warped non-reflection. This place is upsetting. You need a change of scenery, girl. The depressing streets of a locked-down New York City will do. I think of God. Maybe that's why I half-consciously pick up the cathedral as my destination. So I am right in a way. This does kind of go back to that first conversation she had with Brian where he says facts, where they talk about facts versus turning the facts into an interesting narrative, and that's what she said that she did at the very beginning. So maybe that's what I have to do here. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I really think that this is there's going to be some kind of mirrored scene between in this chapter that we had at the very first scene when we first introduced to Julia. I think of the silver cross adorning my chest, an empty signifier. Whenever someone asks me why I wear it, they hear a different story. I think of these silhouettes that I keep spotting from the corner of my eye. No, I don't even want to imagine what that means. I feel what it means, and it makes me nauseous enough. I think of my clan, so closely tied to the Catholic Church. It's a loveless marriage, so to speak, like, for example, the one between my parents. I think about the great irony of the Lasombra's truce with the Holy See. We are the ones who stay so close to the Lord's light, even though we're certain we will never, ever reach it. Some of us shadows have visions of comrades who departed this world recently, traveling through some abstract space, one that's disturbing and astonishing in equal measures. They almost reach whatever afterlife there is for our kind, but then get caught and consumed by a dark, monstrous silhouette. The rumor is, our antediluvian wasn't stopped by his final death. He's still out there behind the shadows, taking revenge for our patricide, feeding on us like Saturn devouring his children. As Dakota would say, it might not be factual, but it is an emotional truth. From joining the Camarilla to panically scrambling for any safe house, it's like our elders are solely motivated by fear. The sins of our fathers are catching up with them, and it's young kindred like me who are given responsibility to clean up their mess, with the constant sense of doom looming over the horizon. We don't talk about salvation anymore, we're just minimizing the impact of damnation. That's no way to live. Then again, maybe that's why they call it unlife. Shit, it's been a while. Hello there, lost sheep. I'll have you know, this shepherd was extraordinarily patient in waiting for you. What are you doing here while the night is so young? Out for blood? Well, you're in luck. This place offers both the body and blood. If missionaries learned their methods from pickup artists, they would all be like this guy. I'm not in the mood, you sorry-ass bum. Step the fuck away from me or you're gonna be sorry. Oh my, something's troubling you? If so, I can arrange a confession. Or if you're in a hurry, keep in mind, the path from inner turmoil begins with a friendly ear, and I've got one right here. Kurwajibi Twoja, you want me to fuck you up, don't you? Don't you? Julia, as you should know by now, I always interpret this kind of response to preaching as to preaching the divine as the devil stirring inside. Is that what it is, Julia? The liar and the father of lies got a hold on your soul? If so, give me a signal, even the smallest one. I'll do my best to spot it. Something swells up inside my chest. I recognize the feeling. The handbrake just broke, and I'm definitely not on level ground. Fuck, here we go. Listen, I've had enough, alright? Enough. Enough of your sanctimonious attitude, enough of your brazen lack of empathy, enough of your dumb, ugly fucking mug. You're a fucking singularity of stupidity, tastelessness, and cringe. I've met all sorts of horrible shitheads and asshats this week, and somehow none of them got under my skin the way you do, you motherfucker. Like a goddamn Jehovah's Witness going from door to door, except you're always knocking on my fucking skull going, hey, do you know God exists? Have you heard that God exists? Like, hold on, hold it right there. When did I ever say that God exists? What? I said, what makes you think I believe God exists? Oh, now you're just fucking with me. No, I'm serious. Well, he sounds serious, at least. I'm actually speechless. I think there's been some sort of silly misunderstanding that desperately needs to be cleared up. I'm all ears. I sure hope so, Julia. I feel like you must have ignored half of what I've been saying for you to reach those conclusions. That's very well possible, actually. It usually takes 15 seconds of him talking to get me completely zoned out. So, to avoid any further mix-ups, I will go back to the beginning and explain the core of my religious beliefs, okay? So, I love the Catholic imagery. I cherish the tradition and lore. I adore the practices, the intricacies of the theology, the messages contained in the Bible. Of course I do. Does that mean that one day I will see the big dad in the sky? Forgive me, Lord, but I don't think so. Doesn't sound very likely, especially for a bloodthirsty creature of the night. So, that's what this is about? Fun imagery? That's overly simplified, but yes, I suppose you could say that. Motherfucker, you ain't Catholic. You're just a weirdo cosplayer. It says a non-practitioner who still wears a cross. Yeah, but I don't shove it down people's throats for fun in my spare time. I'm simply trying to share the joys religion has brought to my own life with others. What joys? Oh, where to start when there are so many. The joy of having plainly understandable rules to follow. The joy of having structure to your life. The joy of always knowing where to find people who share your values. Above all, it's the joys of being an aristocracy, surrounding oneself with exquisite, luxurious architecture, beautiful classic music, ornate rituals formalizing our actions and relationships. A pursuit of virtue separating you from the masses, the hierarchies, the communities, all serving an idea greater than themselves. It's like monarchy or some Camarilla traditions, but not as gauche. So that's what it was? You saw pretty paintings and buildings and thought, hell yeah, I want in, and then you just decided what they mean to you? Oh, don't get me wrong, it's real faith that brought me to the fold, but eventually I whittled down this religion to its core, to what interests me. Unbelievable. But don't think for a second I wasn't empathetic when I was trying to convert you. You are the embodiment of existential despair surrounding us. The one that people usually try to drown out with drugs, sex, work, Netflix, pick your poison. All of them temporary copes. Empty yourself. Kill your ego. Get a routine. Join a community. Ground your morality in something tangible. Start perceiving yourself as part of something greater. All of it good advice by itself, but codified in an appealing otherworldly aesthetic. One that keeps the beast at bay. One you're almost fitting into the way you are. What's there to hate? Unbelievable. You're a goddamn lunatic. He looks to the sky. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Stop that. Your entire ideology is just aesthetics, you fucking loon. And how exactly do I differ from anyone else nowadays in this regard? Stop arguing semantics. No, you stop. Just look at yourself. A privileged burnout who refuses to invest herself in anything. Only started committing to anything when, for once in your unlife, you were forced into a politically charged, dangerous task. Once it's over, you'll be back to being an aimless brat. Desire to murder increases. Ever since World War II, I've been watching every person and every ideal I cared about wither and disappear. That's the source of my pain. That's the reason I am what I am. The source of your pain? A thing that defines you? People have been mean to you. Fuck off. People in third world countries keep their heads high while suffering from every sort of horror, but you have a complete mental breakdown every time you remember you have mommy issues. Wow, classy. Oh, don't act like you have the high ground here, you oblivious sadist. All I'm saying is everyone has a different framework, a different lens to view their suffering through. Yes, and if there's one thing about abandoning your humanity should have shown you, it's that kind frameworks are not enough. Petty vendettas, childish romances, pointless power struggles, the dumb gamble that's chasing a successful career, mommy and daddy issues? Sure, why not? Pain and pleasure don't dictate everything. Everyone wants something bigger than this. They want to escape from the drudgery. They want psychedelia, but permanent. They want to stare at God's face even if he does not exist. And you can show them how. Accept the cross you're wearing into your heart, Julia. Accept it. Creepy fucker. Just accept it. Alright, that will be enough, Benoit. The mood changes in an instant. The sight of Father Leonard takes us both aback. Father, what are you doing here so early? You two are arguing so loudly, I had to come out and check. Even if, with all the panic on TV these days, simply walking outside feels like marching into a war zone. Yeah, I'm sorry. You should be. I was willing to turn a blind eye to your quirks, but because I believe you have your heart in the right place mostly, but I'm very disappointed in the way you approach folks in need. Right now, Benoit Seagal is displaying all the confidence of a scolded teacher's favorite. I was just trying to guide her, to set her on the right path. I know, Benoit, I know. That's the problem. The sacristy is open. Please head there right now. We need to have a long talk. Get me some coffee if you wish. But... Benoit... He slowly slinks away, looking defeated, deflated, debased. I burn the moment into my retinas, etch it on my soul, kind of hoping I'll never have to see him again, and this is how I'll remember him. Father Leonard watches him closely until he disappears from sight, then turns to me. I feel sorry for him. I keep hoping he might find some basic empathy through faith, but all I've done thus far is let him leave you at the end of your tether. Yeah, that's some faith he has. Are you okay with all the bullshit he's spouting? Huh. I don't exactly support it, but I don't reject it. It's like attrition and contrition, imperfect and perfect repentance, you know? One is focused on a relationship with the God, the other is selfish and focused on personal gain. Both of them work. Yeah, but doesn't this strike you as completely missing the point? A bit. But purely secular takes on Christ's teachings are nothing new. Pascal's wager is a boring example, but have you by any chance read Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita? Sure, back in Poland, every teen trying to look intellectual online loved to repeat that joke about the talking cat who swears he'd never pour vodka for a lady because women deserve pure alcohol. That's one takeaway from that novel, I suppose. I read it as a moving depiction of Christ who's not a divine being, stripped of mythic qualities, but open for transcendence. Jesus and Satan understood as powerful forces battling within us. Would have to read it again. It's been too long. Sounds nice, though. I stretch lazily and take out another smoke. Leonard watches me closely before speaking up again. Julia. 4 hours from now, there is going to be a meeting in the Elysium. The big finale of Celebrations of Power. Everyone will be there, but they were counting on you to not show up. The good sheriff plans to present the results of the investigation in your stead. It's a simple, crude strategy. Might work, but begs to be countered with an outrageous tactic. Take it as you will. The game is about to end. Momentarily, I'm left dumbfounded. All I can muster is an eloquent... Eh? Oh, don't ask me. I'm just the messenger. Who relayed this message to you, then? A good friend. A cautious friend. Wouldn't be able to tell you more than that even if you forced me to. Well, shit. This is the moment that might decide the rest of my days. What would you do in my place, Father? When I was faced with a dilemma that would shape the rest of my life, the world felt too big and scary and impossible to understand. So I simply escaped from that choice into the seminary. Yeah, if that's your idea of good advice, I'm gonna have to ask you to shove it. I would expect nothing less. Don't you regret it? Regret what? You're kind of shady, but you don't seem like a bad guy. Still, you have to accept the people above you are responsible for some horrible things. If our superiors' acts count as our own sins, then on the face of it, probably half the people in this world are irredeemable. Clever, but not a real answer, and being a low-level grunt for assholes you find wholly objectionable is no way to live. I don't know. Is it? I finished the smoke in silence. I have to go. Don't know if and when we'll see each other again, but when that happens, I probably won't be the same old me. Of course. But before I leave to scold Benoit, let me say one more thing. Yeah? These are difficult times. My parishioners keep calling me. The things people are going through, they might never admit it, but if this keeps up, it will cause horrifying, invisible damage to this nation. A dreadful darkness is killing us all, little by little, and like every powerful evil, it manifests itself little by little. I feel like this whole conversation has been an allegory that we're supposed to think about in these next few scenes. Like, I think he was trying to say that the current establishment within the Camarilla is going to eat us up, or it's that silent whatever's going on behind the scenes that is going to destroy us, the Camarilla inside, and also if we're going to accept the way things are, or if we're going to reject it and choose to live outside. So that's what I'm seeing when I hear this scene. And it's a lot to take in. And yet, sinful as it may be, I confess to being strangely excited. For a moment, we're seeing this suffocating normal disappear. This is the time to dream a new world is possible. Walk these empty streets, Julia. Remember how the city feels right now. Bask in its shadows and uncertainties. After the apocalypse comes the great rebirth. The Misi Noctis awaits your next report with great curiosity. I give him a nod and sprint away. Now I know what I must do. Hey, Moon, my lone constant companion. When I moved here for good from, the old country, you were the only close friend who kept me company. Never felt in the right place back there. Never felt in the right place here, especially now when I'm not quite alive, not quite dead, not that Slavic, not that American. But maybe it's about time I finally carve out some space for myself. It's been a long road, hasn't it? Wish me luck. I catch him in front of the art hole because, of course, he had to be the first person I met there. No way. No, 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 no. I'm going to be the laughingstock of the entire city if I don't show up to the resolution of my own investigation. How about you demonstrate a modicum of curiosity? Courtesy? Girl, I should put you on trial. I can't guarantee I eventually won't. You've messed with Kaiser, the eminence grise of the city. Beaten him to a pulp like a random goon. He will do everything he can to destroy you from now on, and my bet is he'll succeed. Whatever will be, will be. For now, at the very least, I'd like to show the court I'm not a baby fledgling who can't see a task she was given to the end. You're making a huge mistake. How did you even learn this meeting is happening in the first place? Maybe I'm not as trash an investigator as you thought I was. I never said... but you're showing it. That's not a fair assessment. I wanted to finish this whole mess myself, for your own good. It would be nice if you asked what I think next time. I'm actually pissed off he tried to pull this off without me, but I'm not letting it show, counting on being able to guilt-trip him into submission. His deep sigh of resignation proves that my tactic was successful. Fine, but you will stay quiet the whole time. No tricks, ifs, or buts. But of course. This way. We step into the maw of the gallery. The celebrations of power are almost over. Everyone is back to their usual respective styles again, looking weary of each other's company, trapped in their own little worlds. The art hole is nearly empty now, and Kadir is genuinely strong-arming the last remaining nobodies into leaving the premises. Eventually it's only me and a select few New York Camarilla VIPs remain. Ah, Miss Sawinski, barely made it, huh? The asshole with the glued-on smile spots me first, and he's just as authentically enthused to see me as ever, so he finally showed his face around here. I wasn't sure if you'd join us tonight. Kadir made this meeting sound like a one-man show. The preparations took me a bit longer than I thought they would. I apologize. Are you, by any chance, planning to surprise us with something? Well, if I was planning something, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you now, would it? Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're about to begin. Everyone remaining in the building gathers around Kadir. Ah, exciting. Is everyone present? Present. And accounted for. My prince? Yes. Before we begin, let me welcome an unusual guest to our fold. She gestures toward a corner from behind which emerges a silhouette that would have never, ever appeared here under normal circumstances. Name's Torque. I'm the Baron of the Bronx. I was delegated here by my compatriots as an oversight authority. I'm here to observe the results of the investigation. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me stress this one last time. This is a one-time occurrence meant to alleviate the tensions in the city, not a symbol of mutual recognition, not in the slightest. I peek at Addison's face to get a feel for how a hardline loyalist might grapple with this arrangement. His expression betrays no surprise, only a slight discomfort. If even he is fine with it, the prince must have been extremely convincing about the necessity of a temporary truce, or about some Machiavellian tactic she's got ready up her sleeve. Who knows? Of course, we might have irreconcilable differences, but there are times they have to be temporarily put aside in order to quell unrest and open paths for constructive, meaningful change. If anyone would like to voice their concerns, the time is now. Torque, Arturo, and Panhard exchange glances. Normally I'd consider it an innocent gesture. Knowing what I know, I roll my eyes. A stick or a carrot, Torque? What made you break and sell your compatriots? How much do you really know? If not, Kadir? May I? He steps into the middle of the room and clears his throat theatrically. First, let me plainly state that the conclusion I'm going to present is by no means my own achievement. It is the result of a tireless investigation conducted by a talented kindred I won't name here. A telling glance in Torque's direction serves as a succinct explanation for why he refuses to call them by their names. And of course, Julius Sawinski, whose ceaseless groundwork over the past few nights served as a foundation for the findings that are about to be revealed here. Thank you, Julia. Okay, so Kadir, I think, he's not going to be like Brian. He's going to try to make sure she gets a fair deal, I would say. It's not the first time he sets out to oversell my achievements. Yeah, I like Kadir. I like him a lot. As the sheriff, my role here is mostly representative. I spent the last few days overseeing the celebrations in Elysium, making sure no harm would befall anyone present. Luckily, none did. Looks like the prince's decision to move forward with the event was the correct one. And for that, we should extend our thanks to Kadir, and let us not overlook our guest to a degree. I managed to convince my key allies that diplomatic action is the only way forward in this case. No matter how wrong-headed the enemy can be, we still need avenues to negotiate and communicate. I'm curious how Tamika would react to him looking like a corporate bastard, designing the future order, dismissing potential for change that lies in unrest. No wonder she dumped him. Spare us the empty pleasantries and let Kadir move on. I don't have all night for this. Right, I'll be concise. Douglas Boss Callahan's remains were found in the office by one of his ghouls first thing in the evening. The first kindred to confirm it was another Anarch Baron, Torque, present here. A mystery book author would refer to the circumstances of Callahan's death as a classic closed room mystery. The metal door, locked from the inside, served as the sole way in. There was no murder weapon, no useful testimonies, and the evidence was, how do I put it, barely circumstantial at best. What was left for us was one hell of a puzzle, one where the answer couldn't even be approached using the tired and tested question, cui bono? We were presented with a poorly timed power upheaval, a tense situation where a long-planned celebration was in danger. Suddenly, all of us were faced with an uncertain future. Everybody benefited, yet nobody did. No one was especially fond of Callahan, but it's not like anyone seemed particularly keen on removing him from the equation, especially at this time. For a moment, we were sure that this was the beginning of an offensive on the part of the Camarilla. We started wondering just how violent our retaliation should be. And for us, we were momentarily convinced that the Anarchs were plotting to blame us for their own internal power struggles, a tense situation, resolved only thanks to skillful and swift diplomacy. Dare I say, yet another victory for our talented prince. Julia made sure to examine all the contacts Callahan might have had in his last days, in both sects. Her efforts were tireless, and only rarely misguided. He just had to spit out at least one biting remark, didn't he? Ah well, he's probably just covering his ass. But as exhaustive as they might have been, they only served to muddle the possibilities, not explain them. Callahan had a lot of enemies, but they were the most infuriating kind of enemies one can have. Folks who barely ever thought of him anymore. In other words, no one really had a particular interest in getting rid of him, because they could always simply work their way around him. Just before last Christmas, he even witnessed the first ever successful First Light raid against his extremely profitable blood trade supply lines. The lone ace up his sleeve, a downright shady ability to perfectly maneuver around all SI activities, gone. Callahan's decline was apparent to all, and a domino effect made his empire slowly crumble. Up until recently, he'd done an admirable job keeping up with the times and getting away with murder, but suddenly, all of the prison spotlights were on him. The recent stories we hear about him all depict a depressed, downright manic recluse lashing out at everyone, struggling and utterly failing to fit into the new reality he found himself in. A closed room, no evidence of struggle, a lack of strong why-done-its, a corpse being found in the very early evening hours. The conclusion is simple. Callahan's final death was self-inflicted. Suicide, to put it in simple terms. Huh. Silence has filled the room. So, wow. That really is the angle they'll be pushing, isn't it? Let's hear it, Sheriff. I will explain. It was an independent detective who first set me on this theory, only last night. There is no suicide note of any kind, of course, but the message our recently departed has sent might not have necessarily been a verbal one. The peculiar thing was the position of the body. It was like an arrow, pointing at us to notice something. It appears the last thing Callahan saw in his unlife was a portrait of one Lord Castlereagh, the second Marquess of Londonderry, which is, coincidentally, where Callahan was born. To most, he was a reviled traitor, a heartless suppressor of all dissent. the main threat against each rebellion the Irish have gone through. Successful in all ways but those that mattered to his people. Some call him a tragic figure, holding together selfish allies against a common threat, always fighting for painful and unpopular compromises, ruined by overwork, sickness, and poor public speaking skills. Not hard to see why Douglas Callahan would empathize. Polite snickers. Indeed. Especially when you realize that the sickness in his blood, his failures, the hatred from his own people, and a growing paranoia led him to commit a dramatic suicide within his own four walls. Ah, I see. The assumption is, instead of stabbing himself to death with a knife or pen, he decided to let the sun embrace him in its warmth, Castlereagh's face burning into his eyes, a poetic final death. It's not a closure he might have wanted, but probably the best explanation of his motivation that we're going to get. Does everyone follow? A heavy silence fills the room. Nobody speaks up, except Prince Panhard. To me, it's all perfectly understandable, agreeable, and most importantly, it fits the man I've come to understand over the last 2 decades. Consentient murmurs resonate throughout the room. Consentient murmurs resonate throughout the room. Agreed, and might I add, there were some irregularities in the handling of the crime scene, but the Anarch leader's findings suggested Callahan's resentful ghouls were to blame. Folks have been real happy to see him dead, is all I'm saying, and they went overboard with the celebrations. They've all been interrogated, though. Yes, I have received all the resulting intel, and it's done nothing to change my mind. Their depictions of Callahan's state of mind only serve to support the suicide theory. It is my suggestion that we all announce these findings to our respective communities first thing tomorrow night. Sounds reasonable. And I think this concludes the meeting. I'll let the Keeper of the Elysium do the honors. No time wasted, huh? All right. Does anyone have anything to add? Any questions to ask? Take your time. Silence. I look at everyone just sitting it out in perfect agreement. Congrats, everyone. Congrats, us. We've achieved a perfect victory. No loose ends, no rocking the boat, no nothing. Makes you want to puke. How many of them contributed to this final report? How strongly does Kadir believe this shit running from his mouth? He's always been a Camarilla loyalist, a fanatic even, but... Miss Julia, any final statements? This is it. Now or never. If anyone can blow this pathetic charade wide open, it's me. But there's no coming back from this road, and it has a cost. I've spent all my life and unlife on social climbing, and the sunken cost fallacy is kicking in. Challenging them here might be my only way of ever making it out of the pit I'm in. On the other hand, maybe this is my time to head into the unknown, kill my ego at least temporarily, shut up the voice of the elders screaming in my head, betray my La Sombra instincts. Make all these ghosts go away and figure out something new, no matter how scary it might be. Do I dare? Maybe I don't. I feel like there's an incredible prize to be won waiting right in front of me. If I just dare to take out this revolver with its single bullet I have hidden on me. And invite everyone here for a crazy game of Russian roulette. But I also get this foreboding gangster movie feeling, like this is a scene where the future mobster could have gotten out, but he didn't. In the end, did Callahan think all the splendor of the Golden Era was worth this pathetic end? It's like there are two selves battling for dominance inside of me. One of them has to die. The other gets to live. Honestly, it's a flip of the coin. I reflect on all the kindred I've met, lessons I've learned, choices I've made over these past few nights to make a decision. So maybe this isn't a choice I get to make. Maybe it's the traits I've built up that are going to decide this for me. And then, feeling like I'm simply following the way I conducted this investigation to its logical conclusion, I respond, "No, nothing. Kadir has done an excellent job of summing up the entire case." A barely detectable tension in the air disappears. This was the first time they might have to reckon with something I said, but luckily turns out they won't. Well, looks like that's all, folks. Yes, looks like it. Excellent. Might I be going now, then? Places to be, kindred to see. Took the words right out of my mouth. You can see it in some of their faces. Everyone is happy. Samira, will you escort Mr. Torque out? Me and Thomas will have to appease Mr. Payne for disrupting the sanctity of the Elysium. Certainly. Right this way. Tomorrow night, we're back to being enemies, of course. Of course. Isn't that just what you wanted to hear, Addison? Oh, spare me the condensation, Helen. During the commotion, I'm approached by Kadir. He looks me in the eye and makes a show of exhaling deeply. I have to go and see everyone back to safety now, but thank you for not pulling any stupid tricks. I really appreciate it. Who do you think I am? Someone else, and I apologize for that. Sometimes you just see something and completely misinterpret it. Think about how to handle the future, particularly the Kaiser issue tomorrow, alright? If I'm even here tomorrow. He pats me on the back with a short, awkward smile. See you then. Everyone slowly scatters, but I just sit there, keeping eye contact with the only person I still have some unfinished business with. The art hole should have its doors closed now, but nobody considers it weird I'm staying. After all, the only person that's still accompanying me is the keeper of the Elysium. Aren't they a happy bunch? All's well that ends well. People were getting nervous, like you really had some good cards to play. You're a poker player? Occasionally. It's a very socialite thing to do. Played with Jennifer Tilly once. Must be easy to keep a poker face with, you know. I know, it does help. And you do seem to know a lot about the cards other people are holding. Like all great games, poker does share some principles, lessons, and necessary skill sets with real life. I take out another smoke. This conversation is bringing the tension back, like two fencers carefully looking for a hole in each other's defense. I found a file about you in Kaiser's car. Seems like he's worried about you, the only unpredictable variable in his equations. Ah, see, that's the one card I didn't predict you drawing. Speaking of not predicting something, when I was waking up tonight, I didn't expect a good friend would provoke me into coming here. Who might that have been? Not a lot of people in this room had an inclination to act friendly toward me in any way whatsoever. Sure looks like someone made a risky play. Even great players make dangerous plays sometimes. You know why? No idea. Boredom. It's boredom that gets to you. Even when you love the game, there's always this fear that it might turn into a perfectly predictable series of optimal plays. Time to make a play that might not seem optimal at the moment, a direct attack. You're not really Catherine Wise, are you? I don't know who else I could be. Let me phrase it differently. You're not the Ekaterina the Wise, the agitator of Prague, a Bruja elder causing turbulences all over the world, are you? She laughs. That file must have been pretty thorough. Kaiser knows what he's doing. That's why I'm afraid of what he might do to me to get revenge. Rightfully so. Maybe I'll help him out in exchange for a favor, snuff out a Lasombra meddler, strike a partnership, promise to keep each other in check. If that was a joke, it wasn't very funny, and just so you know, I've made precautions. It was a bluff. Honestly, I expected more of a reaction. Kaiser's documents. Did they mention anything about Ostrava? They say it's where you were born. As Hannah Urbanova was unlucky enough to immigrate to New York City at the perfect age, and with a pretty accent, approximating that line of Katerina. Honestly explains a lot. Kadir told me that Aisling once organized a blood hunt after Ekaterina, that she was both a liability and too intertwined with the city's history to give up on her. This solution, you, were deemed the best possible compromise by all parties involved. The particulars aren't really described. It is theorized that blood magic was used, maybe flesh crafting. I do remember a few images. Her accomplice's embrace, Christoph, the man who caught me, apologizing that the others broke my jaw, as if he wasn't to blame. Violent brainwashing. But what's done is done. I may not be a Katerina the Wise, but I'm definitely Catherine Wise now. I feel as good about the situation as I probably can. She's the brooding Batman, and you're the fun-loving Bruce Wayne? Zorro and Diego de la Vega? Something like that. A debutante who sleeps a lot and parties a lot, only has to do something unpleasant from time to time. Do you hate her? Sometimes, but I mostly pity her. I've come to accept my fate, and I don't feel much trauma when I see my jaw in the mirror the way she does. Some pig broke hers centuries ago, and she still relives the assault every time she catches a glimpse of her own face. All that power, all that reach, all the appearances, still not enough. Don't get me wrong, but is there a point to all these questions? Oh, there definitely is. I think it was reading your file that made me ultimately decide against turning this investigation upside down. Was it now? An immigrant from Eastern Europe comes to New York City, takes the position she's always expected to find herself in, is molded into someone who is no longer herself. The story struck a chord. I felt like you were, maybe ever so slightly, pushing me to follow your way, to lose myself in a position of considerable power. I could see Julia Sawinski sharing Hannah Urbanova's fate, and to be honest, it scared the shit out of me. Catherine shakes her head. Funny, Ostrava's just 15 kilometers away from Poland's border. I know. I think I've been there once when I was a kid. Parents love to travel. Who doesn't? She takes my smoke, turns back, takes a deep drag, and returns it to me. All these long-established organizations, with time their practice is always degenerate, start draining everything out of the participants, turn into a cycle of abuse aimed at no one in particular. But the funny thing is, if the victims aren't allowed into positions where they can perpetuate the abuse, they feel the abuse is aimed specifically at them. There's no winning move here. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I think? You're making excuses for yourself? She desperately tries to stop it, but she laughs. It sounds a bit like a harpy screaming, but it's strangely endearing. I take a drag of the cigarette she took from me earlier. My inner grade schooler excitedly informs me it's an indirect kiss. Let's walk outside. I need to close up shop. Dawn is almost here, and we still need to talk about how to get you out of Kaiser's grasp. I nod and follow her to the street. So I hear you've been living with a human. Yeah, it didn't work out. Oh, and why is that? I don't know how to do this. Do I dare call it sisterly bond came to happen? And I know it can't last beyond tonight, but I'm savoring every second. She's been, turns out she's been single white femaling me. I don't follow. Oh, she's called Hannah now. I come home, find her wearing my clothes, smoking my cigarettes, pretending to be me. The creepiest thing in the world. So you find that pretending to be someone else is the creepiest thing in the world. I see how it is. Oh, piss off, that's a low blow. Why would she do that? No idea. I yelled at her and saw her running out. She's probably back home now, I hope. No, I don't. I don't know. I know it looks bad, but maybe you should just, ask her why she did it, and then make an informed decision. What are you talking about? That would be reasonable. I don't do that. She loosens herself in thoughts for a moment, visibly torn whether or not to tell me something. This might be just Ekaterina speaking, but I was thinking about you two and Carthage. Everyone is arguing with her about that name. Some people claim it has too much historical baggage. It's a myth. It didn't work. It was still vampires taking advantage of humans. But it's still a beautiful dream. and you two are like the embodiment of it. You mean that apocryphal story where Carthage was not destroyed because Romans were greedy for land, but because kindred and kind coexisted there in harmony? That's a pretty deep cut, you know. How long ago were you embraced again? I've been reading a lot to catch up. The inner journalist / former copywriter in me still refuses to die. Again. It might as well be Ekaterina speaking, sending you to die for her pipe dream, but that's the best option I can think of to get away from here with a goal in mind. I'm listening. Head for the anarch-free state of California. Look for a man called Giles. Oh, if you're alone, you might have to do a lot to prove yourself. If you're with your friend, you might have to do a little less. If you succeed, you'll be able to fight for the noble cause of establishing New Carthage. It's hopeless, but no matter what tough act Kadir is putting on, still better than waiting for Kaiser to act. Might as well give it a shot, then, and see what's next. Thank you. Don't thank me, you idiot. I'm sending you to the West Coast to die, just so you're not here to blabber about me to Kaiser, and so that I can please my boss. Now scram, the sun is almost up. Sure, thank you nevertheless, even if just to piss you off some more. Anything else I should know? I don't exactly know how practicing you are, so not even Father Leonard knows. But in an hour of peril, keep St. Jude, the patron saint of desperate cases, in mind. I'm not even religious. I mean, really. But in my darkest hours, someone told me to keep him in mind, and maybe I wouldn't be here if he didn't. Yeah, I know of St. Jude. In happier times, Mum used to joke that he was the patron saint of her sex life. I see. Fellow Catholic guilt survivor, huh? That classic Eastern European upbringing. I'm not admitting to anything. Stay safe, Catherine, and thank you. See you again someday, somewhere, Julia. Although, probably not. I wave at her for the first and probably the last time and leave the Elysium behind. Hey. Hey. She's sitting on the bed. It's obvious she was crying before, but is trying her best to hold up. Where were you? I was, finishing my big investigation. She sniffs. So, how was it? I fucked it up. Big time. Didn't even put up a fight. Don't tell me you expected anything different. I did, actually. You used to be a shining example of an investigative journalist. Maybe I never felt comfortable being an example. The wince in her face proves that got her to her. I'm not happy with who I am. Jesus, you're really copying me in every damn respect, aren't you? Fuck you, I'm being serious. I know, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Or rather, trying to be an asshole. Or rather, not trying to be an asshole. Trying not to be an asshole, oh my gosh. We really are two leeches who got stuck to each other, huh? Like a two-person human centipede loop or something. An Ouroboros or a Mobius strip? I got lost in my own metaphors. I take out another smoke and slowly decide what to say. You're extremely good-looking, kind, endlessly energetic, you've got a steady job as an artist, and an even steadier influx of cash. Why would you want to be someone else? You're extremely good-looking, clever, talented as fuck, immortal, and eternally young. You still have that horribly deep well of self-loathing within you for some godforsaken reason, and it fucks me up as much as it does you. Probably. Yeah, I get it. But single white female? It was an impulse. It was the first time I did it, I swear. I didn't know what got into me. That timing was just fuck. Maybe I just wanted to see if I can be a better you than you. Dunno. Maybe I need therapy. But I'm also tired of looking for the kind of therapy that feels like it works and is not just brainwashing me. She might be lying. But I don't want to believe she's lying. I choose to believe she's not lying. What do I have to lose? I think I want to give it one more shot. She raises her head. Do you? Yeah, I think I do. There is one condition, though. She shoots me a cold look. What condition? I told you I fucked up my investigation, but not how badly. Well, it looks like I'm no longer safe in NYC. I need to run first thing tomorrow evening, and the only way I see is a bunch of those loons living on the West Coast who are trying to bring about a utopia where humans and vampires could coexist. It's probably even more dangerous than staying here, to be honest, not to mention how dangerous it could be for you, and I haven't even figured out how we're going to get there safely, but yeah. I'm beyond tired of sitting on my ass, collaborating with monsters. This is the first page of the second chapter. This is a lot to take in. I know. But I think I'm in. I know I'm in. You've got a future. You've got rich parents. You don't have to do this. In case you missed it, having rich parents is like a goddamn, I don't know, original sin in my book. I don't want to coast on their money. I want to try doing something that fucking matters. Are you certain? About as certain as I am that the deep state exists. It's good enough for me. I'm off to sleep. The sun is probably already up. I'll pack your clothes. What for? Are you planning to unleash Dark Dakota on me again? Don't say anything. As I said, trying not to be an asshole. It's a process. The day went by and I woke up just like any other night. That was the first surprise. Dakota following through with the plan was the second. We're leaving the city. I don't know about her, but I'm kind of hoping it will burn the moment we leave. Fuck all those out-of-touch, psychotic assholes who murdered Callahan and partied on his grave all week. Fuck the opportunists who couldn't even seize the moment and do what had to be done. Fuck this temple of Mammon where truth is impossible to find. Fuck the Bronx, fuck Brooklyn, fuck Queens, fuck Staten Island, and fuck Manhattan. Fuck Manhattan in particular. Okay, I'm done. I'm probably gonna try to stop at motels, drink from truckers and hitchhikers and whatever. Exciting. It'll be like a pair of serial killers prowling America's highways. Remember Near Dark, that nomadic vampire novel? Of course I do. Is that what we're planning to do in the Midwest? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll improvise. It just hit me. Won't the motels and such be closed because of the virus, though? Shit, I don't know. I didn't think about that. Maybe I really should have robbed a bank and just paid the circulatory system goons to smuggle us to the West Coast. Ah, whatever. It might be fun. Remember, you'll be the one paying for everything. I don't want to expose myself to anything, and I don't want to expose anyone to anything. I've seen enough shit talking online about this exodus of New Yorkers who are probably spreading that thing all around the country right now. Gotcha. We should wash the car, I think. And you'll be disinfecting yourself before any time we touch. Okay, that's just being freaky. And maybe you should wear a mask. Nope, it's the land of the free and the home of the brave. I guess. Hey. Yeah? Do you love me? Of course I do. For now, at least. I still don't know if I love her. Or if I can even love anyone, for that matter. I'm a fucking monster, after all. I don't even know if we'll exist next month. The prospects are not looking good. But although I can't even see myself in the rearview mirror right now, I will remember this image of us leaving the city, somewhat melancholic and somewhat hopeful forever. And maybe the meaning of this image will be clarified with time. Or maybe I will just force a more positive description on it, and that's what I'll believe. No matter what happens, even if oceans of blood lie before us, I will make this a cherished memory. Whatever possible salvation still remains for me. It probably lies in the eyes of another. So the trophy I got was bad ending, and I agree. I was very unsatisfied with that, and I know it's because I played it as I would do things, and it just took the behavior that I had done and all that. So obviously I did not play that as ruthless and I clearly didn't learn the lesson that was taught in the beginning, which was to be ruthless. So yeah, maybe I'll play it again to try to see what the actual truth was. I think that would be more satisfying, but I guess that was the whole lesson. I mean, personally, I don't see anything wrong with, you know, trying to be a good person but also exposing the truth. I don't think those are mutually exclusive, but that's not the point of the game. I mean, the point of the game was to read the situation with Julia. So yeah, I'm very dissatisfied. It's a good game. I'm just dissatisfied with my playthrough because it wasn't a good ending, obviously, for me. But yeah, what did you guys think? Did you guys solve the mystery? What do you think about the ending? Would you have made the same choices I did? Or looking back, what choices would you have made differently for me? Do you think to get a new one? But yeah, for now, this is Amanda, this is Am and M, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye!